So, hello everybody. Hello everybody, my name is Andrei. I'm a PhD student at the University of Bern and a member of the GT team, together with Aliaksei Syrel over there, Juraj Kubelka over there, and Tudor Grba, who unfortunately couldn't make it this year to the PharoDAYS. And we are working very closely together as a team to the GT tools, and these are a new cool set of development tools for Pharo that focus on moldability. We want to have development tools that are really very easily extendable, adaptable to new types of application and domains. Generic tools, however you look at them, standard tools are really not the best solution for developing very specific and custom software systems. And I will present you one tool, and then Aliaksei and Jura will present you two other new cooler tools, even cooler tools. So how many of you didn't hear about the GT inspector? Raise your hand. A few people, that's good.
We build them? We bash them?
Yes. So the GT inspector is the new object inspector from Pharo, and we did the GT inspector because objects are very important for Pharo. However, object state, it's not the most important aspect of an object all the time. Seeing just object state all the time significantly limits the scope of an object inspector. And let me show you what I mean by that. So for now on, I'm just going to do a demo. I just had one slide. So let me open a playground. So objects representing files and folders. I mean, they are very common in software development, and I don't think you can program for a long time without having to work with those types of objects. So let me create one. So I will execute file system working directory, and this gives me an object representing the directory where my image is currently located. So I'm going to execute and inspect this object. Perfect. So now I get here a view. This corresponds to the classical object inspector, and I can see the state. And for objects representing files and directories, there are an instance of file reference, and the only thing I can see here is the path. If all I want to know is the path, then this view is perfect. But the thing that I want to know the most about this is what's its content? What is the content of this folder? What do I do for that? I could go into an external file browser, but I don't want that. So in the GT, we added a new presentation for an object that represents a file, a folder, item. So here I can directly see in the inspector all the files from this folder. I don't need to move elsewhere. I can see it here in the inspector. So this is one of the basic ideas from the GT inspector. Every object has multiple presentations that show more than just object state, other interesting aspects. And for now, we group these objects at the top using tabs, because this immediately shows you what presentations are there, and you can also very rapidly switch between them. The overhead is low. I could, for example, select an object. For example, I could select the flower.png, and this will open with the object in the next column. Again, I get the raw view, useless, but I have a picture view, and voila, a beautiful flower. So these two simple presentations turn the whole inspector into a file browser. And if I'm doing debugging, and I reach a file object, what do? I have right here in the inspector a file browser. Otherwise, I'll have to get out of the debugger, open a file browser, and search there. But now, we can have this information directly in the debugger. And the idea of the GT inspector is not to emulate the classical object inspector. It comes with a totally new philosophy to dealing with objects. And one is multiple presentations, and the other is easily extending the inspector. So now I'm going to do that. So let's create very rapidly one custom presentation for an example. So for that, I'm going to use something that Stefan Egerman submitted to the mailing list a while back, the address book, for example. We liked it, it's cool, so we use it. So I want to implement an address book. So let's say, okay, I have an AB address book object, that's my root object. Then that will store a list of contacts. So this is the contact. The contact stores an address, a first name and the last name. Then the address stores a city, country, and telephone. And then the telephone stores a number. So this is how I want to implement my address book. You might want to implement it differently. Or this is how Stefan wants to implement his address book. So now I've constructed already an address book called PharoDAYS, so I can just remember all the people that I'm going to meet. So if I execute and inspect this, inspect it in the window, I will get this. So I will get a raw view, and again I can see the state, I can see I have a label, contacts, array. So this view is perfect if what I want to do is see how this address book is implemented. But now if what I want to say is rapidly browse to the contacts, so what are the telephone numbers of the people? Okay, I have to expand. Okay, what is the telephone? Here, here, perfect. Now let's move to Alex. What is Alex's number? I have to expand. Yes, so the tree view, it's perfect if you want to look at how an object is implemented, because that's its point. However, if you, in this case, I just want to see the data, the contacts in the address book. The state view only gets in the way. So let's make a new full view. So for that, again, I don't have to leave the inspector, because another custom presentation is the meta that shows me the source code associated with the object. And in the GT inspector, we create new presentations by adding new methods in the class of the object, and we annotate them with a special annotation, so the inspector can find them. So let's very rapidly add a method. It will just be a few minutes. So I'm going to create a method. I will call it GT contacts on, and this receives a parameter, which is like a canvas on which I can build my presentation, my specific presentation. And I need to put the annotation. This is GT inspector presentation orders. And I need to give it a number, so this number is used up here to order the presentation. So let's say I want a composite, then I want to have a table, and then I want to have the title contacts. So now every time you save, the inspector refreshes. So now if I'm going to save, the new presentation contact will appear here. Perfect, so I have contacts. If I go to it, it has nothing now, so then I didn't tell it what to display. So I could go back to the meta, modify here more, and then come back and see the result. I don't want that. I want to have really immediate feedback when I'm developing the presentation. So there is a hack, or there is a solution. I can select self. So now I got the same object twice in two different panes. Here I can switch to contacts, so here I can see my presentation, and there I can come to meta, and here I can continue to develop my presentation. So let's just display all the contacts for the moment, without any formatting. So I want to say self-contacts. So if I save, the method is created, it's updated, I see all the contacts. So I have immediate feedback as I develop my presentation. And now let's add just two columns. So let's name this column name, and let's add a column with a telephone number. For that, again, I could use column evaluated. So I have the name, so let's say the title name. And evaluated is to get all the contacts. Contact, let's say the contact full name. So now if I save, I just got here, if you see at the top, a column name with the label name. So now let's just copy paste and add the other one, the telephone. And now I here want to have address, and then from the address I get a telephone. So if I save, now I have a simple presentation for looking to an address book that shows the name and the telephone. I could add more if I want. So now I can select, for example, Stefan. And now the object is open in a new pane, and here I have I created before a details view that shows all the information about Stefan. So now I have the inspector turned into a simple tool for browsing the contact. And this took just two presentations and a few lines of code. However, there are still some new things. You notice here that I have contacts, raw meta, detailed raw meta. So if I'm developing this address book, then seeing all these views, it's okay, because I'm interested in the state of the object also in its source code. But if I want to give this to some users to use it, then they might not be interested in the raw and meta at all. So now there is a very simple mechanism to remove this. If you go from the menu, you can select presentations, and then the basic groups tags. So we group presentations using tags, so you can remove all the presentations that have a certain tag. The tags are implemented using a paragraph. So I don't want the basic presentation. custom are all the custom ones, and examples are special presentations that associate examples with objects. In this case, we didn't don't have them. Okay? Okay, it's called. So now, I just have a tool that I can only browse to an object. I can through the contact. I can't do anything else. And the cool thing is that I can also do this programmatically. So I can construct an object inspector that will do only this. And I'm just gonna paste the code because it's, where can I find it? Here. So all I need to do is create an object inspector. And then of course with the last line I'll open the object inspector on my address book. And here I will say I only want to have these presentations enabled. So the GT contact on presentation for the address book object and the contact on presentation for the contact object. So if I execute this, of course, I did make something wrong. So GT contact, it's GT contact. Okay. So now I got the same op tool as before. So you can reuse now the infrastructure, the whole infrastructure of the inspector to create new types of custom tools. And the GT inspector is the first example of what we call a moldable tool, and it offers you a very simple mechanism for adding presentations to new objects. And also the cost of creating a presentation is not that high. For the list, for the contacts one, it took me a few lines of code, and until now, together with the people working on Moose and Pharo, we've built around 130 presentations for different types of objects, and on average it took us 8 lines of code, 8-9 lines of code.
Show the GT inspector and show them. Yes.
So to see those presentations, so I said we created a lot of them. You can of course use the inspector, and you have to inspect the inspector. So if you inspect GT inspector, so this is the class. Let's open it. So we've added a special presentation to this class that shows all the extensions that are added to the inspector. In my image I have 152. So if you select and go, you can see the source code of that example. Now the inspector turns into a tool to browse all the extensions that are available in the system. You see, they are not so complicated. Of course, if you have very specific objects, then you have to perhaps invest a little more, but on average, it's not so complicated. So as I said, the cost is very low, and that means that you can start building your own presentations for your own objects, because really your objects are special and they deserve to be inspected in a better way. So this is what I wanted to tell you about the inspector. So now I invite Juraj and Aliaksei to show you an even more cooler tool.
Hello, my name is Alex. I'm a student at the University of Bern, and today I would like to present you a GT Spotter, a new tool, moldable tool for elegant searching different kinds of objects from different domains. And during development actions, we often try to and search for classes, methods, or packages. And I think that they all should be searchable through one and the same interface. And let's start to warm up from some simple examples. So who knows Spotter and maybe uses it? Okay, so there are just now to open Spotter in Pharo 4 image in the latest version, you can use Shift-Enter, okay, combinational keyboard. And this is it. Do you see it? Yes? Perfect. So, I would like to search a UI theme class that is used really often. So I just type UI theme, and as you see, the first result is our wanted class, and to jump in it and open it in Nautilus browser, I can just press enter, and that's it. Next, I would like to find, for example, a kernel package. Why not? I can use the same interface, shift enter, and just type in kernel. You see, it it found three classes that may be from kernel package, but we also have a kernel package that is the second in packages category. To navigate in Spotter, you can use up and down arrow keys on keyboard, or you can just select it with a mouse. So I selected it and press enter. I'm in kernel package. And next, let's say, as I said, we can search for really different objects and data. And as example, I would like to find a selection method. I just type selection, color. And as you see, there's 5 implementers, but you can't see them all. To see, you can press Command Shift and see all 74 methods that are implemented in the image. And if I want to see a source code, I can always press enter and get Nautilus browser. However, to see source code of other 73 methods, I must redo the search all the time. It's not very useful. So we introduce a new feature in GT Spotter. It's a preview. Wow. And if we dive in all categories, you see a search tool magically turns in an implementers browser. This is what we call one interface for everything. And let's say I want to find a method selection color that is implemented in UI theme. Why not? I just continue searching. So I have 4 methods that somehow are related, and I would like to get more information about selection color. For example, senders of this method, or who else implemented it. And we introduce an action that is called dive in, so we can dive in this method, and it's easy. It can be done with the command right arrow shortcut, and voila, we get senders, a lot of them, and implementers. And of course, you can, just as always, continue searching. And as I mentioned in the beginning, that there are different domains that can be searched through Spotter. For example, why can't we search for directories or files in our local folder? So let's say I want to find PharoVM folder. So I just type / to show I want to search in the local directory, and then PharoVM. And as you see, found PharoVM, and also a preview shows what's inside this object, what's inside this folder. Search for PharoDAYS. Okay. They say, okay, I can search for PharoDAYS, why not? And of course, I can apply dive in action and actually look what's inside. Oh, it's images. Why not? Search tool turns into inspector and always in a file browser. So you can inspect and browse files in inspector and searcher and Spotter. And then, as Andrei already mentioned, he used address book. So why can't we search contacts and persons in a address book, and we named it PharoDAYS. So I just search for PharoDAYS, and let's dive and look what's inside. So we have people and addresses. Also, take a look in the preview. So this is a domain-specific preview that is very cheap to build. And let's say I can search for myself in case I just forget my name. Oh yes, it's me. Of course, we can find the people who are from Bern. There are 3 people in this case. But then I see, wow, there is a telephone number. But why can I want to search a telephone number? Oh, but I can, because the search is not implemented. So let's do it. We open the system browser, go in our address book, GT spotter. Oops. So you see, only 2 search methods are implemented for people and for addresses. Let's reuse one and implement our own search for telephones. Let's say it will be the last one with the biggest number. We name it telephones. And then we would like to show all candidates, everyone, contacts, and as item name we will use just a telephone. Address, telephone of course, a number. I like to program in Pharo. Telephone. PharoDAYS, and that's 5. So we get a telephone, and of course I rapidly saved in a method with old name, so it overrode people. What you see? It took me 1 minute or less to implement my custom search, and finally, Spotter is a second example of moldable tool that allows us to build a custom search for different kind of objects. Thank you. Oh, wait. It seems like I got a message. Yes, we can. What a fail! Sorry. It's okay. We need to improve rubric a little bit. This is a nice example of contribution. And I would like to invite Juraj. To present our new tool, GT chapter.
So, hello. My name is Juraj. I'm a PhD student from Chile, and yeah, this is our next tool we are implementing because as we work together, close together, we usually use Pharo image and Skype to communicate, and we switch a lot between these tools. So we decided to integrate our communication with Pharo because we think it's useful, and it's usually happen. Maybe we can show the demo. Yeah, I will try to send you again. For some reason, we have a bug with UI, with the break. Sometimes it's happened that we can't click inside. I don't know. But I will send the messages, and we will see what the idea behind. And well, so one simple thing we can share and we can send to each other is just a text message, and we can also send another another objects, basically any object. And right now, yeah, Alex would ask me what the problem I had, and I would send him a link to method, and it can.
Yes, and I can open it. Let's see what he wants.
Yeah, and with with some question. Yeah. Yeah, I have a problem with this example, and answer it.
No, basically it's normal. It's a feature.
So you could answer me? Yeah. Yeah. You could answer me, usually this computer, but it doesn't matter. And we can communicate. So, like the first thing we can share between us is like the links to the source code, and this is just the beginning of the idea. We already experiment to share stack trace from debugger.
Yes, and I can send him a message. Just that you should take a look at this method. I can select it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I received this message, and I could click on this icon, which is used for browsing, and you can see the record. Yeah. So this is our new tool we are working on. And underneath it's based just on simple remote announcements. So it's really easy to extend and to send any object. So we just like announce to our announcer, and it sends to anyone who is interested to receive this announcement. So on one image you just write something like when this kind of announcer do something, and I just share this announcement. So it's like simple idea, and the chatter is the first tool based on this simple thing. This is everything.
This is actually an answer for a previous question about how can users cooperate in development, during development, and the question was related about Epica. Actually, this remote announcement can be used to implement communication in Teams, directly in the image.
So how do you establish connection? You have a server which tracks the users, or it's peer-to-peer network?
There is a server.
Right now, we use a local server that's running there.
Okay, so these were the three things that we wanted to show you now. We are working on more tools, but those will be released another time. So with the GT, what we're trying to do, we're trying to propose in the end a new approach to software development, and one in which we actually build tools as we need them in order to better understand, debug, and develop our software. And for this to be possible, we need simple ways to create, easy ways, cheap ways to create tools. And this is a necessary thing because all the time fixing and developing specific applications using standard generic tools that have no idea about anything that our application has is definitely not the way to go. So that's for us. Thank you. Any questions?
The people that are in charge of the coffee break, you can go. The bottle are outside.
Maybe any questions?
Yes.
How scalable is the tool for the search? What's the biggest data set you've been working on?
The biggest data set, for example, right now, when I search for selection color, it searches all implementers, through all methods actually in the image. And total there is more than 100,000 methods in image, and you can just check. Oh, of course. It's fast. It's packages, classes, packages, implementers, dirty packages, playground. And for example, in case if I just type C, this is the biggest one. It shows address books, menus, classes, packages, implementers, pragmas, files, global variables, directories, dirty packages, playground. Examples.
So just for assignment, so all the rendering is done in the background, all the search is done in the background process, and every time you get new searches, we update the UI. So the UI responds immediately, and then as you get new searches, so if you have a slow search, then you get slow search, then you slowly get results.
Which makes for interesting debugging.
Yes, it makes for very interesting debugging.